Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Proline. Jim Feist is here. John Cranton is here as well. I'm Dave Koken. We've got some great games to look at in the NFL this weekend. Big game, I should say. The Broncos and Patriots, the Sunday night matchup. A lot of people looking forward to that one. I know I am. And, of course, the Cowboys and Giants. Look, it might be the NFC least, but this is still a big football game. The Giants have won 4 games in a row. The Cowboys, always dangerous. We'll talk about those games. Before we do any of that, though, we've got some great stuff to tell you about. A bit of promotional material here, and I'm going to start with myself because I've got one of my big games this week. This is one of my 3 biggest annual plays in college football. It's my game of the year, which already took place, my upset of the year, which also already took place early in the season, and now my mismatch of the year. And this game has been tremendous over the last 12 years. It's 9-3, and here's how confident I am this year on the game. Because I don't think this game's going to be remotely close. And, you know, if you've watched this frequently enough, you know I'm not a big hype guy. None of us are, really. We don't yell at you, oh, we're going 80%. You know, we don't do that stuff here. I love this game. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a guarantee on it. Forget about covering the spread. I'm going to guarantee that it covers the spread by at least 2 touchdowns. This game's going to blow the number out. Guaranteed this cover by at least 2 touchdowns, or you get the rest of the college football season free, and obviously there's not much regular season left, so that includes the bowl package as well. So you're going to be playing the rest of the college football season free if this game doesn't cover by at least 2 touchdowns. $25 to get the game, and in addition to that, the sooner you sign up, the sooner you start getting bonus plays. I'm going to build that bankroll for you, so you're going to be playing with house money by the time Saturday rolls around. I'm on a real good roll with the top plays. Last weekend, Colorado State, Baylor, I won't say no problem with the Baylor game because they were down early, but no problem at the end. Colorado State dominated their game. Top plays are rocking and rolling. Get into this now. 1-866-896-1629. That's 1-866-896-1629. And I actually read the price wrong. It's $20, not $25. It's $20. So make sure and call right away. John, Mr. Vegas has got some good stuff going on this weekend. What's happening there?
That's right. Mr. Vegas is off a big win with his dog game of the year in college football. That was the University of Houston. You can get a full week of action in all sports from Mr. Vegas. It's college hoops, NBA, NFL, and college football. It's going to include Saturday's college football shocker of the year. 7 days for $15. 1-866-896-1627.
You know, Jim, you've had a real nice year in football. But it turns out it's not just football. 23-14 running the NBA, 26-14 on the pucks. This is turning into a nice ending to 2013 and a great beginning for some clients this weekend because you got a 5-play countdown going on.
Dave, that's right. But I'd be remiss to not mention that last week was my first bad Sunday in pro football, and everything seemed to break the wrong direction. We do win a lot more than we lose, but when we do lose, I think it's only correct to mention it because we're not going to sit up here and say we win games when we don't. But we're going to bounce back in pro football. We're going to bounce. We don't need to bounce back in college football because we're doing okay there, and we've been doing great in pro football except for the blip on the screen from last week. You mentioned the NBA has been absolutely remarkable. The NHL has been remarkable. We got 5 plays this week on Saturday. 5 plays go for $25 along with a high roller bonus. So make the call. It's 6 plays. 1-866-841-1655. $25. You get 5 plays on Saturday and a high roller bonus as well. We've been doing very well this year. We do make profits for our customers, and we're going to continue to do that right through not only this week but the rest of the season. 1-866-841-1655.
All right. We always have a Twitter question of the week, and I have to tell you, they've been good questions this year. This is a really good question. We'll get to it in a second. Remember to follow us on Twitter at Jim Feist Sports or at Facebook. Friend us at Proline TV. This came from Greg Lamont in Chattanooga. And this is a good question. The Oklahoma-Baylor game moved from 11, actually I saw even lower than that on the opener, to 16. And the Bears-Ravens total has dropped like crazy. It's gone down like 7 points from the opener. And his question is, were those really bad numbers, and do the books get hurt when a line moves more than 3 points or has a great deal of line movement like this?
Absolutely.
On the line movement,
Absolutely.
Sure. I was going to say, on the line movement, maybe not as much on those first numbers. I wouldn't pay as much attention to those because a lot of those are soft openers and low limits, and it doesn't take that much money to move the line. But when these lines keep on moving, like the two you've mentioned, and it's after the opening number already took a hit, that means it's a lot of money, and it's often sharp money. So absolutely, the books are at risk on these games, Jim.
Well, there's two different stories with these two specific lines. First of all, the Baylor line was a terrible line. It opened up soft, as you said, which is like a $500 bet. But when the guys, I go in there and bet 5,000, the game was already, higher than the opener. But the Baylor line was a horrible line. And they got stuck with that. I don't know where it came from. I don't know how the lines are actually made. I'm sure there's a bunch of people talk about them like the old days, and they just come up with a consensus and lean to one way or the other. But that was a bad line. The books did get hurt on that game for sure. The other game, the Bears-Ravens, that's really kind of unfair to say that was a bad line because this game opened up 47, went down to 40. I bet the game under because I saw the weather coming in, and I took it under the 47. The problem with this was, even though there was 60-mile-an-hour winds, tornadoes, everything else, there was a 2-hour delay in there. The storm sort of passed. They came back. It was okay. They scored a couple extra points. Then the winds picked up again that slowed it down. But it was kind of an aberrational situation. The odds makers had no way of knowing this was going to happen. When they made the line, which is like on Saturday, Sunday for the following week, or Monday the latest for the following week, they didn't know about the storm. That condition came up a little bit later in the week. We took advantage of it early. I sent it out to my customers early so they could get under the bigger line. As it closed, I think a darn thing, like it says here, 40. Obviously, the game went over that last, so went under the early number, over the late number. So they had two-way action on that. That's not always good for books because a lot of people that took the under could bet the over and get a middle. I'm not sure that really happened, but that was not an odds maker problem. That was more of a weather situation. The first one, Baylor, was definitely a terrible number, and they got killed on that one.
Right, and we'll see what happens in that game because that game, of course, is one of the featured games on the schedule this week. We're not the Bears-Ravens game, of course, done. I'm still unhappy about that game. I had the Ravens. I pushed at +3. If I'd have waited, I might have gotten a +3.5, but I gave it out at +3 and betted at that number. And we'll never know, but I think the only reason that game got to overtime was because of the rain delay. The Ravens were in control before that 2-hour stoppage, and of course that doesn't guarantee that they would have stayed that way, but I like to think they would because that's the side I had. We're going to get to the Cowboys and Giants now, which is, look, the NFC East is obviously not what it's been this year, but the rivalries in this division still create some tremendously exciting games, and there's a lot on the line with this game, John. I mean, the Giants are right back in this thing. They've won 4 in a row. And even though they're 4-6, that puts them in the middle of the race in the NFC East. If they can win this game, they got a shot to make the playoffs. If they don't win this game, the season's probably over. I think that's probably going to cause a lot of action to gravitate to the Giants. Don't know if that's the correct move or not.
Yeah, it's a fascinating game for those reasons. When I take a look at the Dallas Cowboys at 5-5, keep in mind that they've not been very good on the road, just 1-4. That's one of their weaknesses, although they do have a winning spread record on the road, 3-2 ATS. But the thing is, just this team has been erratic. Just look at the last 4 games. Great defensive effort. They beat the Eagles 17-3. Then they have a horrible defensive effort. The Lions beat them. It was much higher than that score, 31-30, as the Lions rolled up 600 yards. Then they beat the Vikings. Then they bounced back with a terrible game as the Saints beat them up. So it's a team that we've known for years. We've questioned the coaching staff. This is another example of it. Up and down play is often a sign of weak coaching. Now, the one thing about Dallas that is impressive, though, is Tony Romo. He's quietly having a great season. 21 touchdowns, 6 picks. Really has had no running game to help him out, so it's all been on his shoulders. He's been very good. He's got great targets in Witten and Bryant. Cowboys are a very good bounce-back team, 4-1 against the spread. Now, the Giants, boy, have they been erratic, too, losing the first 6 and winning 4 in a row. But here's the thing, Eli Manning, he really has not had a good year at all. 12 touchdowns, 17 picks, weak offensive line, and no running game to help him. And when these teams met in Week 1, Dallas scored 36 points and won because of 6 Giant turnovers. The way that I'm going to look at this game, though, would be the total. We hear that there's some bad weather back east. When the Cowboys play on the road, they're 11-5 under the total. And this Giants defense has been playing pretty well these last 4 games. In fact, overall, they're on an 18-7 run under the total. So, Jim, I'm going to look at a lower scoring game in this heated rivalry game.
You know, this is a situation where the Giants are going to be playing a pretty good quarterback this week, and that hasn't been the case lately for them. They were on a 4-game win streak, and as Dave brought up earlier, these are marginal clubs so far in the NFC East. Now, it really comes down to who's playing the best the last month of the season when they get into the playoffs and they can run the table. I mean, that is possible. We've seen that happen before. A few years ago with Seattle, Pittsburgh, Arizona. Teams that were not doing great in the first part of the season all of a sudden got hot at the right time. That can happen here, too. All these guys can do the job. Philadelphia's hot right now. The Giants are hot right now. Dallas is wishy-washy. They will never be a great football team as long as Jerry Jones keeps his nose in the football pie. That's a waste of time to even talk about that. Romo's doing well. Of course, Washington, RG3, he's just a baby in a big suit. That's what that guy is, and he needs to grow up a lot. But so they're not going anywhere. That's part of this division. But it comes down to these other 3 teams, and this is going to be a good game. Now, in my opinion, this would be a very high-scoring game normally. Even though there's a trend to the under, this is such a big game. I think you're seeing everybody's coming out with everything they got. The problem is the windy conditions. 20, 25-mile-an-hour winds are projected. And when the winds hit that stadium, it swirls around. It's very hard to throw the football. And these teams are terrible running teams. They both average under 100 yards per game, so you can't look for much production there. So I have to go along with you, John. I think the under is the right play.
Well, I'm going to take a small argument on the running game portion of the Giants. It was a really bad running game, but now they've got Brown back. You know, he's put up 181 yards in 2 games. He's a good football player. So I think that changes their dynamic a little bit, and I think it makes them a little more balanced on offense. We'll probably cut down on Eli Manning's turnovers. Excuse me. Actually, it allows for the Giants to be a little more conservative offensively, because now they can run the football some. That's really important, because Eli Manning is a good quarterback when he doesn't have to throw the football all the time. When he does, that's when the quarterback problems happen for Manning. That's when the picks start happening. So I think that explains somewhat why the Giants have played better football the last 2 weeks. One of the wins that they had early, the first win, in fact, against the Vikings, was about the worst football game I've ever seen played in the NFL. So I don't even count that as a win. But the last 2 games, they played well. And, I know it was against Tolzien last week, but they still played a good football game on defense. Dallas is going to have to come in with a good defensive game plan here to stay in the game. They're not going to score a bunch of points in these conditions. It's not conducive to it. I think what you guys have mentioned on that with the high winds, to me, the way to play this game is the under and play it early. Because what's going to happen on Sunday, if this weather report holds up, is you're going to get a crush of under money, which means you'll have a good value at your number, and you might even be able to set up a middle, which Jim was talking about before. Now, that's part of what the pros do, is gauge where the lines are going to go, take advantage of it, and set themselves up for a possible situation where they can cash 2 tickets, maybe put a little more on one side than the other to eliminate any kind of a loss, but still set themselves up for a big payday. Nothing better than a middle. It's basically no risk, and if it hits, you're in clover. So that's the way I'd go on this. We're in agreement then with the under, and again, don't wait until Sunday. I don't understand why in this day and age people have access to only one bookie on a Sunday. you're just killing your chances if you do that. Okay, before we get to the next game, we got some business to take care of, and that's with our man on the street, Jeff Saad from LVSS. Jeff's got a great offer for this weekend and a free NFL total. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks, guys. Got a free total coming up in the NFL, but first it's week 12 of college football, and I've got my rivalry game of the month Saturday, plus my NFL home field game of the year on Sunday. Both games are $10 with a pair of bonuses. NBA and college basketball releases going tonight. 4 plays in all for $10 with LVSS. Call 1-866-575-8916. Free play comes in the NFL Sunday as the Panthers and Dolphins meet in Miami. Carolina is a conservative, run-oriented offense, bottom 5 in passing, but top 10 in rushing. But the heart and soul of this team is a bone-crushing D, top 5 against the run and the pass. Last 3 road games allowed 10, 13, and 9 points. Under is 7-2 in the Panthers' last 9 games on grass. The defensive line will cause havoc to a bad Miami offensive line with a Dolphins offense that can't run or pass. The under is 6-2-1 in the Dolphins' last 9 games in November. Take the Panthers and Dolphins under the total. Once again, I got my rivalry game of the month on Saturday, plus my NFL home field game of the year on Sunday. Both games just $10 with a pair of bonuses. NBA and college basketball releases going tonight. 4 plays and off, just $10. Call LVSS at 1-866-575-8916.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Knock 'em dead this weekend. Free plays every day from both Jim and myself. You can get mine by a text message. It's a really complicated procedure. You have to do one thing. You have to text Kokin, C-O-K-I-N, to 313131, and then you get back the free play on a text message. Jim, it's just as complex with you.
Oh, it's really complex. You just have to text winner, W-I-N-N-E-R, to 313131, and you get a free play sent back right to your cell phone. 313131, just text winner, W-I-N-N-E-R.
Well, and that's Zeus. Zeus is...
yeah, that's Zeus and his friends. That's Zeus.
Who does he like?
Is he winning it? Who's he like in the Broncos-Patriots game?
Obviously the dog.
Well, we have a dog pound game every week, and I think we're 7-3 on the season with the dog pound. And Zeus picks that, so it's up and running right now on the website. And he's done, 70% so far on the year. You can't go wrong with that.
So if we speak dog language, you can get it away for free right now.
We did lose it last week. We had the Browns, and they managed to give up 31 second quarter points on only 3 first downs. So it was basically the Browns offense that scored for Cincinnati.
You want to hear a funny story? I got to throw this in. This is years and years ago, and I lost touch with the guy, and I don't even know if he's alive anymore. But his Super Bowl system was with his dog, and he would take 2 milk bones. I'm not making this up.
Did he win?
2 milk bones, and he would scratch out the name of one team on one, or an N for NFL or NFC, and an A for AFC, whatever. And whichever milk bone the dog ate first, that's who he bet on. And he won 6 in a row. He won 6 in a row doing this. And the 7th one was the Cincinnati-San Francisco Super Bowl, and the dog ate the San Francisco biscuit first, and then threw up, and the guy didn't know what to do.
It was a game of the year.
And that was the end of the system. He ended the system at that point. That's a true story. I'm actually not making that up. All right, the Broncos and Patriots are playing Sunday. Boy, the Broncos won a game they really had to have against the Chiefs on Sunday afternoon, and then on Sunday night, I should say, and then on Monday, what a finish. What a finish, that Patriots-Panthers game. It was pass interference. There's just no question about that. It was pass interference. Doesn't mean the Patriots were going to win the game, but it does mean they should have had one more play. I don't know how that's going to impact them this weekend, except they walk out of there with a loss. And, boy, Belichick off a loss can be rather difficult. I think the Broncos are a better team than the Patriots, but I think the situation favors the Patriots. They're home off a loss. I like that. I think they're going to be a little bit pissed off about what happened at the end of that game, even though they're not saying so. For the Broncos, it's a huge divisional win, and it's a game they really had to have, or they were not going to win the division if they lost that game. Now they have to travel cross-country and face the Patriots. Manning versus Brady, it has the air of a playoff game, and believe me, I'm about as big a Peyton Manning fan as there is. But in playoff games, he doesn't play that well. And this is a playoff game to me. I'm going to take the Patriots. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I doubt very much. And I won't chisel this in granite. I don't know if this is going to make my personal service card on Sunday. I think it's an extremely tough game. But I'm going to have to side with the Patriots, Jim.
Well, Dave, it's not too often that you see Tom Brady and company an underdog at home. I mean, that goes back maybe 7-8 years the last time that's happened. Let's take a look at what Denver is facing right now. They just had to play Kansas City. And that wasn't, arguably that wasn't that tough a game for them, even though they might have anticipated it would be. It wasn't that tough. They had the game in control. Now, I will say the Chiefs had opportunities, and they messed up a few times, and it made the game much easier for Denver. Now they got to go on the road, and they got to play at the Patriots, coming off a loss. I think I've got to give credit to Carolina. They're a pretty good team. And they beat San Francisco. They came home and played a very good game. Whether they won the game or not really is immaterial to me. They played a very good quality team 2 weeks in a row and beat both of them, totally gained respect. The last play was definitely pass interference. If Gronkowski could have ran out the button hook, he might have actually caught the ball, and the game would have been over there. If they got the ball on the 1 yard line, there's no guarantee they could have scored because Carolina's defense was stopping them all night on any kind of short yardage stuff. But in any case, the Pats are going to be very pissed off. And now they have 3 losses. They're going to be a wild card unless they can win this game and the Chiefs or somebody can beat Denver. They're down to a wild card situation because they would have a tiebreaker if they won this game against Denver should they lose 2 more times. So this is a huge game, much bigger game for the Patriots in this situation because they are not in great shape right now. So I see a big effort from the Patriots. I agree with you that on paper and everything statistically, from beginning to end of this season, Denver's the better team, and that's why they're the favorite. But it's very unusual to see this team an underdog at home. Now, we get back to the weather. 35 degrees, 20-mile-an-hour winds. That's not conducive to high numbers, scoring. So we're back kind of like talking about the Dallas Giants game. It's colder here in this game, but you're probably looking at a high total. It's probably an underbet. I'm not going to say anything about who I think is going to win the game. Now let's go back to Denver. Denver played Kansas City last week, big division game. They won the game. Now they got to travel across country, East Coast. They got to play the Pats, coming off a loss. Now guess where they go next week? They got to go to Kansas City. They got to play the same team they just beat, a division rival. And God forbid for Denver if they were to lose that football game, because Kansas City would jump ahead of them. Because Kansas City only has 1 loss. That would give Denver 2. And if Denver loses this week, it would give them 3. So, huge game for both teams, but a big look-ahead situation for Denver. A lot to think about.
John, both these teams are going to be in the playoffs. We know that. But, getting that regular season win is important, not only for psychological reasons, but for possible home field. Jim was talking about that before. I mean, the Patriots don't want to blow potential home field throughout the AFC, and they can forget about it if they lose this game. So, it's a really big game for both teams.
It certainly is. Yeah. If you like to play totals, keep this in mind for this game. There are 3 head coaches, Romeo Crennel, Jim Johnson when he was with the Eagles, and Bill Belichick. They've always played Peyton Manning the same way, and that is you play a deep zone, you force short, medium stuff. You want to try and get long drives out of them. Now, last week, they played the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, Andy Reid was with Jim Johnson in Philadelphia all those years. He did the exact same game plan last week. Peyton Manning had 40 dropbacks, and the Chiefs sent 4 or fewer passes on 34 of those. It's 85% of the time. The number 1 sack team in the NFL got 0 sacks against Manning last week. Well, that was by design. They were playing back deep and did keep that great Denver offense in check with 27 points. And I got to believe Bill Belichick, as usual, he's going to do the same type of game plan. So if you like to play the total, there may be a lot of long drives in this game in addition to the weather. But here's the thing. I'm going to take a stand with the matchups because I like to do matchups. And I like Denver in this game because this Patriot team, look at the problems they had on Monday night against Carolina with the defensive backs. 3 starting defensive backs were out. Alphonso Denard is an athletic young corner they like. He's still injured. Apparently he's not going to play this game. Aqib Talib, their best physical cover corner, who would be great against Demaryius Thomas this game, had the hip problem, didn't play on that last drive. They certainly could have used him against Cam Newton, and they certainly could use him this week. I can't trust his health. And then the defensive line. They've already lost their best linebacker, Gerard Mayo, Vince Wilfork, done for the year, Tommy Kelly, who they brought in, done for the year. So they have home field and they have the edge with the coaching staff. But boy, I just wonder if the Patriots have the horses in this game. So Dave, I'm gonna take the favorite, Denver, from a matchup point of view.
How much? Before we wrap it up, how much weight do you put on the fact that John Fox isn't coaching the football team right now and Jack Del Rio is? Now he got a win last week, which is a big win, and Del Rio's been a head coach in this league. But I don't think he's regarded as a great head coach. Does that start to impact the further they get away from Fox being there? Does that begin to impact your opinion on assessing this Broncos team?
Well, let me tell you why I don't think it's that meaningful. We all know that probably the hardest working quarterback from a preparation standpoint in all of football, and probably for many years, is Peyton Manning. Arguably, he is the offensive coach. And the defensive coach is Del Rio. He's still there, and he's still, coaching the defense. So other than the fact that there might be more hours in the day for these guys to prepare and get things ready, I don't see too much of a difference because of the situation of having a quarterback like Peyton Manning. If you didn't have a guy like him, and let's say you had somebody that you really had to hold hands with and go over every play, this guy is going to do what he wants to do, and nobody's going to tell him otherwise. From an offensive standpoint, that's simple. That's the way he's been for years. And so I think Del Rio focusing on the defense, which he's been doing from the beginning of the year. And you got to remember, too, they had some defections over the, with the fax problem, and they lost, what was his name? I can't remember his name because they didn't send a fax in time. Von Miller's back now. The other guy was, I can't remember his name. He went over to Baltimore. That's right. But any case, Von Miller is back. He's been back for a couple games. That improves their defense a lot. I mean, he's a horse. He's a great football player. They did not have him until last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say. So their defense is actually stronger, which further enhances my position along with the weather and the pressure of this game, that even though these are high-scoring quarterbacks, the situation, the weather, all of that, I think we're probably looking at going under this high line.
You were thinking about Elvis, right, Jim. Elvis Dumerville. How could you forget that name?
Yes, I was thinking about Presley, and I couldn't come up with the name.
Elvis has left that building.
I concur with you because Peyton Manning runs the offense, not that coaching staff.
No, I can't disagree with any of that. All right, let's get the best bets and a recap of what we've got available this weekend. John, let's start with you and a little bit of information on what's happening with Mr. Vegas.
Sure, my best bet will be the Denver Broncos. And if you want to get in on Mr. Vegas, you can get a full week of action in all sports, NBA, college hoops, NFL, and college football, including a Saturday shocker game of the year. Mr. Vegas won his dog of the year last week on the Houston Cougars. You can get all this, a full week of action, 7 days, $15, 1-866-896-1627.
I'll go under in the Cowboys-Giants. I think there's some value in that, particularly early. And as far as the big play goes, the mismatch of the year goes on Saturday in college football. Great record on this game over the years. Guaranteed to not just cover the spread, but to obliterate the spread. It's guaranteed to cover by at least 2 touchdowns for the rest of the college football season, including the Bulls, We're going to be completely free of charge. The earlier you sign up, the more plays you're going to get because you got free bonus plays from the day you sign up until game time on Saturday. So take advantage now. It's just $20 at 1-866-896-1629. It's 1-866-896-1629. Jim?
Well, Dave, these big marquee games like you have coming up, I have to wish you luck with that because I know you've done well over the years. I've done well over the years with my game of the year. Last week did not work out for me in that respect. But like I said, I'm on a bounce back week. I'm very focused. I have a strong card in football, and I've been on top of the hoops. And obviously, the NBA is 22-13, so we're on top of that. The offer this week, we got 5 big plays. A countdown on Saturday. 5 plays for $25 and a bonus high roller play. That's 6 plays in all, $25. 1-866-841-1655. 1-866-841-1655. And as far as the best bet's concerned, we talked about 2 pro football games. I basically said I like the under in both. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to give you both games under the total. I think the weather conditions, the cold weather, the pressure of the games, the high totals, but you better get on it right now because like Dave said earlier, these numbers are going down if that weather report holds. And I think it will. I mean, it is, unless you're living in Florida, San Diego, or Vegas, there's a lot of bad weather around the country, and this is the time of year to hit. So I'm going under those 2.
I grew up in New England. Not nice there on Thanksgiving, okay? I like it better out here. All right. That's it for the NFL edition. Yeah. That's it. The NFL edition of Proline is done, but the college edition still to come. If you haven't checked that out yet, make sure you do. We got a couple of big college games that we're going to look at. Some great information to give you there as well. Meanwhile, for John Creighton, Jim Feist, Jeff Sod, I'm Dave Koch, and thanks for watching. Have a great weekend and make those calls. We'll talk to you later.